Keonte started doing sports, and then, it was like, okay, what do you do with somebody that wants to do sports administration or sports management? But you really also had this coaching, this interest in mentoring and coaching. And I was like, the Boys and Girls Club were just such a great partner.
It was perfect. Yeah, so just a real quick, how I got the Rising Star within like 2-3 months.
Wow. 2 or 3 months into the internship. I was ready to do whatever needed to be done. And my mindset is always it's for the kids. But despite every week being like it's like the first week of school, Groundhog Day, all over again, you stayed.
Yes.
And you're there.
Yes.
And you've been doing it for how long?
No, this is my second year.
Okay.
Yeah. Those few kids who like cling on to every word you say, you show up for them.
What makes us resilient? What makes some people continue to pursue their goals and dreams in spite of roadblocks or challenges? What if all we needed was an opportunity? Imagine if we trusted our talents, our abilities, and our strengths, then took a chance on ourselves. FutureProof is a Cincinnati State faculty and student-created podcast where students, alumni, and employers share adventures in learning outside of the classroom. We hope you will cheer, cry, and laugh along the way as we share our students' stories of resiliency and overcoming the odds. Find out what happens when we finally stop saying no and start saying yes.
Hello, and welcome to FutureProof, the Cincinnati State podcast, where we interview our fabulous alumni and hear all about what brought them to Cincinnati State and what they're doing now. My name is Jane Martin Dressing, and I'm a co-op and internship coordinator at Cincinnati State.
Oh, no, we're saying our titles today. Hey, I'm Amy Donbar, and I was formerly a co-op and internship coordinator with Jane, and now I'm the interim associate dean of the business division at Cincinnati State.
It's the end of the semester. When all things fall apart, it's the end of the year. Everybody's got the May crazies.
There's a lot of dead grandmas.
A lot of people die. There's a lot
of death.
It just
this time.
Assignments that were eaten and destroyed, and computers that break down, and it's all the things at this time of year. And we are so very lucky and blessed today to have a very special guest, Keonte Alexander, who is a 2017 graduate, was in my program, was one of the students that I had the pleasure of working with. And Keonte is also experiencing the crazies because he is a 6th grade teacher. So if you think college students wazz out at the end of the school year, it's nothing compared to the crazy that 6th graders get. They are ready for summer. They have checked out. They checked out sometime around March, and they have left the building.
Maybe, Jay, we should have an exchange program with the higher ed.
I could go do 6th grade for a minute.
Like time out. Keonte comes here, deals with, and we joke, but it is a hard, end of the semester stuff happens, stuff goes wrong. It's hard. You've been running that race for 14 weeks. It's like the last mile in a marathon, right? But I have an idea. I think that we should switch with Keonte. Yeah, it's like wife swap. Only it's
job
like
swap.
Yeah, and God, I would be the best 6th grade teacher today.
I would be in jail for child abuse.
Yeah, they push you. They push you there.
They push you
there.
We can do it together. I'll keep you out of jail, Jane. I'll be your wingman anytime.
If there was an emergency phone in the classroom where you had to call for security, like backup, that's what I would need.
Jane,
I have it right next to
they
my
would be
desk.
like, Jane, you need to put down the phone. You cannot stay on the phone from 8 to 5. You're like, nope, I'm just here. Well, I'm so happy to be with you here and talk to you today. Thank you for being with us.
So, Keonte, you started at Cincinnati State years ago. What brought you to Cincinnati State? What made you decide to come to community college? This is a great question for all of our guests because it's never a straight path to community college.
Oh my gosh, I remember this story literally like yesterday. I remember it very vividly because at the time before I started at Cincinnati State, I had applied before. I had applied to the I want to say the horticulture program at the time because I was interested in landscaping. Don't know why, but I just felt like working with my hands. But before I started, I was working a bunch of dead end jobs like Amazon. Well, I wasn't making a career out of it. I don't want to say Amazon's a dead end job, but I wasn't making a career out of it. Just working a bunch of little jobs here and there up until Cincinnati State. So it was about, all I remember, it was sunny outside. I can't remember if it was spring. I was literally sitting on my dad's couch at his house, and it was maybe like noon. He had came downstairs, and I was just sitting there watching TV, and he was like, he just looked at me. We just looking at each other. And he just said, he was like, what are you doing sitting around? I was just looking at him like, it's noon, there's nothing else to do.
Get up off the couch. Time to get up off the couch.
Literally. So he was like, you just sitting around. You don't have a job right now. You're not in school. Like, you too smart to just be sitting around. And I always knew that I was like a school type of kid. Like, I loved being in school, loved education and all that. I never continued after high school. But after he said that, he literally gave me like $20. I got on the bus, found me a job at Wendy's that day, came back home, and I ended up, like a couple days later, I went to the orientation at Wendy's, and I was like, this is not for me. I'm going to choose the school route. So I ended up applying to Cincinnati State and got in that
no offense
that
to
fall.
Wendy's.
Yeah, no offense to Wendy's, but yeah, that wasn't my career path.
But that kind of needed to happen.
Yeah, it needed to. I needed that kick.
Eye opener, get on the bus. This could be me. I could be taking the bus to Wendy's, or I could do something else.
Literally.
It was like an eye opener. Yeah.
Shout out to all the dads, man.
Yes.
All the present dads.
That's great.
So I remember after I applied and got accepted and all that, I remember my first day, I literally got on the bus, and I ran into one of my aunts on my mom's side who I don't see as much. And she was just pouring so much into me, just making me feel calm and comfortable on my first day, even though I was already cool and comfortable because I was so eager to start college. But that moment, it just solidified everything that I was feeling at that moment. Like, this is where I belong.
So you started as a landscape horticulture major, but that's not where you graduated, right?
No, I had signed up, but I never attended.
Okay.
Yeah, so once I officially started, I was sports administration that fall. And then after, because do you guys still do mandatory co-op?
Yes,
Co-op
I know it. Yes.
The co-op put me, I remember I was at home. Well, I was at my aunt's house. I was on a basketball court. Got the call from the Shakely Boys and Girls Club. I was like, oh, my God, yes.
Shout out to the Boys and Girls Club because it has been a career starter for a lot of students.
Super career starter.
They've been a long-time partner with us. And, what was the guy's name? We loved him. Paul.
Yes, Paul.
That worked there, yeah.
Yes. He was involved for a while at the organization after he retired.
HR, yeah. But that was great. Keonte started doing sports, and then, it was like, okay, what do you do with somebody that wants to do sports administration or sports management? But you really also had this coaching, this interest in mentoring and coaching. And I was like, the Boys and Girls Club were just such a great partner because
it was perfect. Match made to happen.
Yeah, and they give everyone an opportunity to really develop these leadership skills.
So you had been a coach?
So once I got to the Boys and Girls Club and I realized kids needed help with their homework more so than they needed help with basketball and football, that's when I decided to make the major change. And I remember, Jay, I want to say I was talking to you.
Oh, yeah. And, we had a lot of conversations.
Yes. And you were asking me, like, well, I know you really like math. Have you ever thought about being an accountant? And I was like, I don't want to sit behind a desk all day in a cubicle and just have like 4 or 5 office buddies. Yeah. Like, no, I want to be active and upbeat. So, I really stood on education.
And you won the Rising Star Award. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so when after I got hired and everything, switched my major, I hit the ground running. Just because shout out to Crystal Allen and Kevin Bosetter for hiring me and giving me my first chance at the Boys and Girls Club. They mean a lot. They mean a lot.
So they hire you and just say, "What are your ideas? What do you want to do? Go for it." And
yeah,
he just starts creating stuff.
So I hit the ground running, just helping out, doing whatever I can. And we were in Lower Price Hill, so it wasn't a good area. Our old club, it was dirty in the back, and as a newbie, I had to earn my stripes, so I was making sure the trash was taken out and taking teams to like help me bring the trash bins up. It was hectic. It was hectic for our small little club. But then, unbeknownst to me at the time, it was a brand new Boys and Girls Club being built up the street that was sponsored by Cincinnati Reds baseball. And they ended up building us a brand new facility up the street, and we've been there ever since.
And Keonte has never left the Boys and Girls Club, so we're going to get into where you've gone career-wise, but he also has not left this club because he is not really saying what all was involved in being a Rising Star, but he really started a lot of programming and was instrumental in getting especially older teens, keeping them engaged and giving them something to do and a place to be and a place to feel seen and heard. And, you did all that work to promote college visits and trips. And talk a little bit about some of the things that you did, initiatives you started there.
Yeah, so just a real quick, how I got the Rising Star within like 2-3 months.
Wow. 2 or 3 months into the internship. Just I was ready to do whatever needed to be done. And my mindset is always is for the kids. That's why I'm always working with kids. I love them. Just watching them grow and reach their full potential. It's just something I love to do. And what did you want me to talk about?
Just that you've done a lot of starting programs there, and I know at one point you were taking kids around and going to different college visits and.
So yeah, so actually I was very nervous taking a teen center position. At the time, I think I had just turned 22. And I was like, you know what? I don't know why you guys want to hire me. I was literally a teenager 4 years ago, but whatever. I don't think they're going to listen to me. So they really threw me into the fire, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise because it took my public speaking and confidence to a whole other level. And then once I got in, and I did my first year, I maybe averaged like maybe somewhere between 12 to 15 teenagers. That second year, we were like over capacity, and that's unheard of for a teen center to get 35 to 40 teenagers, high schoolers in one area outside of school.
Right.
Hey.
And somewhere that they're safe,
right.
that they're cared for, that they're not in trouble.
Yes.
That
it's not a house party, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
And the way that I promoted my teen center was honestly through social media. At the time, Snapchat was it. Snapchat was it. So I'll let my teens they made a teen center Snapchat, and it would post pictures and videos or whatever we were doing. So we were running a fun game that everybody liked. That everybody liked. Yep. People who haven't been coming for days like, oh, I missed out. Teen nights. I done did so many teen nights outside of club after hours. We went, I want to say 2 college tours. The first one we went to Chicago. And then the second one we went to Atlanta and Alabama. Taking a group of teens to
Chicago is no joke.
Oh my God. But we had so much fun. Yeah, they all came back in one piece.
Wait a minute, was it just you taking
No, it was just me and Mr. Kevin.
You and Mr. Kevin took
we
how
had
many
about
teens?
14 teens.
Like you got a 16 passenger van, or
yep, 16 passenger van. We hit the road.
Oh my word!
I made a video
Did they
from
let
our
you
time
drive
there.
that van?
Yeah, we took turns
driving.
Yeah, oh my God.
You could do higher
You
education.
yes,
we could do switch it. We could. You could do this.
And the van training is like, can you go around the block? All right, you're good. You're good.
Good to go.
They don't let Jade and I drive the vans here.
They got rid of the vans.
They got rid of. They heard we were coming.
They
maybe.
got rid of the vans. Oh my goodness.
So Jade was saying you're still with them. You've never really left. What are you doing with them now?
I left in 2020 to take a internship with Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio, which I'm going to get into a little bit later.
Okay, spoiler alert.
Yeah, so I'll get into that later. But I ended up coming back. I want to say after 2 years, because I was still off and on going to help out, checking in, and at the time we had a new director and program coordinator, so I was just going to help out, just to make sure everything's running smoothly. Because Shakely is my baby. Like,
yeah, you started it in some ways. It opened when you were there, brand new.
Yes, literally brand new. So it's just always going to be near and dear to my heart. So
of course, yeah, you started something. So you finish up at Cincinnati State. By the time you leave here, you're still working this job at the Boys and Girls Club, and you've changed your major to education. What was that like transitioning to a four-year school, and what were some of the challenges and how you overcame those obstacles?
It was very different. When my time here at Cincinnati State, I knew faculty knew me by name. Like, I could walk up and down the hall and knew Jane or Liz, Daniel would say my name. Mm-hmm. When I got to UC, I told my mentor this, who I'm going to mention later as well. I literally told her I felt like an M number, because at UC, you're M 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all I felt like. And that opening week, it was like I don't want to say a culture shock, but it really was, because we were all in a football stadium. It was maybe like at least 4,000 to 5,000 of us in one. And we were all first year. And I was like, oh, my God. Like, I feel like I saw maybe 1,000 to 2,000 people maybe at Cincinnati State during my entire time. But once it got into the 5,000, seeing 10,000 when classes started back, it was like I felt like a dot on a piece of paper, like literally. So just maybe the biggest challenge was just finding my village. Because at Cincinnati State,
yes,
I had that. I had that love and care and support at Cincinnati State, and at UC, I really had to find it on my own.
So yeah, who did you find? Like who? So how did you find that village? How did you make UC your new home?
So after my first few years there, I was just taking classes. I was doing pretty good, but my time at Cincinnati State, I didn't do my very best. So my GPA was down a little bit. So I needed to get into cohort so I can get into student teaching. So I had a 2.7 cumulative, and I needed 2.8 in order to get into cohort. So my academic advisor at the time, so I was willing to like write a letter and try to advocate for myself to get into cohorts. I'm literally 0.1 away. Like, what's a 10th? But he was telling me that they were super strict and there was nothing he could do or I could do. And honestly, that was like probably one of the biggest mistakes in my life, was not advocating for myself. Because after that experience and dealing with that, I had to do an extra year at UC just to be able to try to bring my GPA up. But that I remember my first day after doing this extra year, I ran into my mentor, Dr. Pennington. Shout out to you, for real. Shout out Dr. P.
Shout out to all those mentors.
She took me in. It is funny because I was literally like 10 to 15 minutes late coming in, but I sat in the front because I want her to know I'm serious. Like, I got to do this extra year. I made a decision to just keep going instead of dropping out. I made the decision to keep going, so I might as well do my best while I'm here. So I ended up sitting in the front, and she called me out after class, and we just talked for a couple minutes, and she just really got to know me and my story, and she just took me under her wing, and I met the people who make the decisions to get into cohort. they loved me.
Yes.
Soon as I opened my mouth, it was just
people
like,
just needed to meet
please,
you.
yes, we love your story. We love that you stuck it out and wanted to come back to UC. So that's when I met. Oh my God, all their names are drawing a blank right now, but it was maybe like 4 or 5 people who I could honestly say became part of my village at UC. But it all started with Dr. Pennington helping me get in front of those people and walk through those doors and be able to meet the people I was supposed to meet so I could get into cohort because the passion was there. Yes. I just needed somebody to give me an opportunity, and I took it and ran with it.
That's what we see every day here. It's not intelligence, it's not capability, it's opportunity. That's what it is. And sharing your story, because once people meet you and know your story. And
yes, I didn't know just because growing up, it was like in the environment that I grew up in, you mostly try to stay to yourself. So I grew up downtown and over the Rhine before it
was OTR.
Before it was OTR, before it became gentrified and all those other words you want to use. It was a terrible place to grow up. Just there's no other way to put it. It's a terrible place. So trying to advocate for myself and figure out my own path and what I want to do, it was tough. So it was something I wasn't used to, having somebody fight for me, because where I'm from, you fight for yourself. Like, you out there, you outside, you got to stand on your own 10. But having somebody fight for me and show that level of care for me outside of, like, my own family, it was like I could really, like, I love this. Like, it just pushed me to keep going.
I love how you said stand on your own 10.
Yeah.
And that, and that's grit and that's resiliency, which is why you're also here with us today. Hey, can you talk to me more about, and the folks who may be listening today, what the cohort was and sort of what you did once you got into your cohort at UC?
So once I got in the cohort, we immediately went into the second semester of cohort, we went into half-day student teaching. So I was at Hughes for a bit, and I ended up running to one of my little cousins in class. So that was pretty cool, just seeing my family in class. I was with a math teacher. Shout out Miss Burns.
Okay.
And then after that, the classes were a lot harder. Like the math concepts, and they were a lot more difficult because I was thinking about going into secondary education. But once I saw the curriculum, I was like, I love math. Like, everybody know I love math. But that curriculum is just too damn hard, to be honest.
It's one thing to like math, and then it's another thing to teach it, to know how to go backwards.
It's a deeper level of love teaching secondary and above math.
It's its own language too.
It
of
really
how
is.
you explain the unit and whatever.
It's like looking at a foreign language. But
I don't love math, but I can't explain it either. Like, I was like, ah. No. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
So
I couldn't even do elementary. I mean,
Girl.
I didn't forget high school.
Elementary math is easy. Well, no.
Jane's in the classroom on the phone.
It's how you're supposed to teach it what makes it hard.
Yes, right. You got units and stacks, and we just couldn't carry the one. We don't say carry the one anymore, do we? No, we gotta exchange something.
I
There's
still
all
do that
new
on
words.
the tip. I do. They don't carry the one anymore.
No, they
when
don't
I'm
borrow.
doing the
You used to say you
tip.
borrow something. You don't do that.
Borrow.
Just all new words, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a bunch of new words.
So if we have to teach math in this exchange program that I proposed early on,
we're not.
Can
Listen,
we
we're just bringing musical instruments.
We can do something else.
We're not doing math.
Okay. All right.
I just wanted to add that once I got into cohort, on top of the student teaching and having to balance like school plus student teaching plus like being a dad, at the time I only had my baby girl Anastasia. Shout out to you. You know I love you. I was one of, I want to say 3 students that was black in the cohort.
Yeah.
So it was like, I know I need all these kids that look like me. I know they need somebody,
That's
that looks like them and wants to teach them. But when I got in a cohort and saw this, I was 3 out of maybe 40 students that were black. I realized the need for like more black educators was like is pressing. Like we need more black educators in our buildings, especially at these schools with the high black population like Cincinnati Public Schools. And even then, now that I'm there, it's still a huge need. So um, if you're a person of color and wants to go into education, there's a job for you. There's kids for you. Um, they already love you and they haven't even met you yet. So if you want to go into education and you're a person of color, I'm telling you now, you won't regret it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
And that's a lot. That's a lot to walk into that space and be like, where is everybody?
Yeah.
What's happening?
So it took me a while to make friends in cohort, to be honest, because again I was still kind of to myself, and I was just mainly just close with faculty. But shout out to Taya McIntosh. She was my first like real friend and cohort at UC. Once I got into student teaching, cause cohort, it felt more like as I got cool with everybody, it felt more like a family, because we were all in this together with one common goal, and that's just to educate kids and do it with a passion that nobody's seen it before. But Taya, she really helped me out and kept me on track and made sure that I interacted with everybody, because I was to myself and I was honestly very non-traditional compared to everybody else. I didn't start college right away. I started college in my mid-20s. Well, early to mid-20s. I started college in my early to mid-20s. At the time, I had one kid, Anastasia, and I worked like.
You were a working
Yeah, I was
student.
already working. Like, I haven't taken a day off since. Like, so.
And it was one thing, I think, to learn these concepts that are like this sort of higher ed, lofty, educational concepts. Yeah. And it's another thing to be like, but day to day, I know what these kids' lives are like, and I know what the other piece of this puzzle that they need that isn't these like maybe lofty learning outcomes. They need this other piece.
It's way more than learning outcomes. So much more. I wear so many hats. I can't even keep up with my own titles. I'm Mr. Keonte, Mr. K, Mr. Alexander, Mr. A, Uncle, Big Brother, whatever you want to call it. Some kids, they like to call me Dad sometimes. Yeah, so you're not. If you want to work with kids, you're not just going to be whatever your job title is. Trust and believe, you're going to be everything else but.
Yeah. So you finish at UC, you get your teaching degree, and first year teacher. What was that first year like? What was the biggest shock to you?
Honestly, I could say my first year, it went really, really well. And it's crazy because normally under these circumstances, a new teacher would fold to the pressure and just struggle. But my co-teacher, she teaches ELA and language arts and social studies. But she was just giving me a lot of wisdom, a lot of game to teaching before she had left, because she had to get surgery. So she was gone for the entire second and third quarter. So my first year, after first quarter, yes, it was only me. So I had all these sixth graders to myself. And
30 to 34 sixth graders and one adult. Please tell me you had a paraprofessional or somebody else in the classroom.
No,
okay.
I had minimum help. I was just thrown into the fire just like I was at Boys and Girls Club. So I was already used to it. I'm used to dealing with,
you pulled in your management skills.
I got to do what I got to do. But little funny story. I had one student, but she was in my co-teacher's homeroom. She had the nerve to say, because I was being mean, apparently, quote unquote, she said I was on a power trip.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my
I was on
gosh.
a power trip to take control of them in the whole 6th grade because Miss White was gone, and I just wanted to yell and be in charge of everybody and just tell everybody what to do. So she said I was on a power trip and held this grudge against me for like the rest of the school year. And I was like, some kids are evil. I'm like, how? I'm on a power trip. I'm doing my job. Literally,
Yes,
I'm doing my job.
I am in charge.
I am
So it
in
is a
charge.
power trip. That's right.
I am. Well, if you want to call it a power trip
Of the
it
sixth
is
grade
what it
class. I mean, that power trip of the 6th grade class. There,
Hey,
Keonte.
sixth
is.
graders
And they
are
have
scary.
some nerve.
Yeah,
They try to
do.
take over me.
Yeah, they do.
I'm like, you guys are manipulative.
Uh-huh. They're mean to each other.
So
and-
mean.
And
This second year, oh my,
Yeah.
very, very different contrast.
Really?
Yes.
Just because of a different group of kids?
Yeah, different group, and the way they treat each other is just so mean. But I think this group in particular, they had a lot of challenges coming leading up to this point. So I want to say third grade was their COVID year.
Yeah.
So their
Critical
school year was
year.
messed up.
Mhm.
Yep. So I want to say Ohio has a 3rd grade guarantee where you're supposed to
Yes.
meet these goals in order for the kid to pass on. So a lot of them got passed on, and now they're behind in math and reading levels. So I'm dealing with students who are multiple grade levels behind. Their 4th grade year, 2 teachers had left. They were very rough. 5th grade year, 2 teachers had left. So now they come 6th grade, and now it's like I'm teaching how to be a student, how school is supposed to operate to a bunch of sixth graders who are 11 and 12, who are big enough and smart enough to make the right choices. But it's like first week of school every day.
Wow. It feels like
Every
Groundhog Day. Just
feels like the first week of school. I'm like, sit down, raise your hand, do not sneak out of the room, stop running down the hallway, do not let me hear you in the hallway. Why are you
Are
yelling?
you allowed
It's
to do
8:30
like?
a.m.
Can you do any old school like my mom? She'd just be like, "I'm gonna wring your neck." I mean, you're allowed to do the. I'm gonna wring your neck. Can you? Is there any threatening?
No.
No threatening. Okay.
No.
Yeah,
No
I gotta
wringing
keep
the
that
neck.
off the podcast.
Okay.
Okay.
No.
But
can't wring any
Oh,
neck.
that's
the
for
only
the
threat,
edit.
the only threat, the only threat I got is taking away recess because all they want to do is run around. So
Okay.
once
Oh,
I say
that's
your-
you got.
strike one for recess,
Uh-oh.
everybody usually tighten up. So
You got to figure out the collateral. Once you got
Yes,
it, you're
you got
rolling.
to figure out the collateral. That's right.
got to.
Tighten up for recess.
So despite every week being like it's like the first week of school, Groundhog Day, all over again, you stayed
Yes.
and you're there,
Yes.
and you've been doing it for how long?
No, this is my second year.
Second
Okay.
year.
Yeah. So the reason even though this year has been really tough, the reason I say is because you always still got those few students who love learning, who gonna listen the first time, and not to say that everything's going to be smooth and peachy in the classroom because that's just not realistic. But those few kids who like cling on to every word you say, you show up for them, even though if you have 15 students and 10 of them are bouncing off the wall, those 5
That are on point.
they're
yeah.
you got to pour into them. Because you
Wow.
don't want to lose those kinds of kids. And no, we can't save everybody as teachers and educators and people who work with kids outside of school, but you still show up for those few. Period, point blank.
Yes. I heard a really good advice once about new career, new job, and it was that first year is, I mean, you're just figuring out people's names, what to do, where to park, what the culture's like, all of that. And then the second year, you're making all those mistakes. You're
Yeah.
figuring things out. You're, trying some new stuff, maybe getting your feet wet in different areas. But it's the third year and beyond where you really are like, now I'm applying things. Now I'm doing my own stuff. Now I see what works and I'm repeating it. And,
I feel like the first year went so well because I was straight from the Boys and Girls Club. So I was used to having 30 kids in a room at the same time. Granted, it was teenagers, but now they're a bit smaller and school setting is more structured. So I don't have to do as much like like establishing rules and expectations, because students are supposed to know that.
Right.
You've been in school for a number of years now. You kind of know the routine.
Yeah.
So first year hit the ground running. I felt comfortable. Now this year it's been a challenge because it feels like it feels like it should be my first year, because it's like every time there's a solution, there's another problem. Yeah. I'm like, how can I put out this fire? Like, you guys are starting 2 more over here behind my back.
Whack-a-mole. You're like, I got that
yes.
one.
Literally, you put out one fire, there's 2 more starting behind you. So this year feels like the tough year. Like, this is where I'm trying to figure things out. But it's been helpful because I don't think it can get any worse than this. It can't get any worse than this. It can't get worse than this. So next year, I know I'm going to be cool because I already got hit with everything that you could throw at me as a student.
You're bulletproof.
Okay.
You're good.
Yeah,
you're future-proof.
You're future-proof. Yes.
Future-proof.
So, Keonte, I think I know. I ask a question related to this almost every episode. And I think I normally don't know what the guest is going to say, right? Like, and a lot of times we're surprised by what the guest says. But with you, you're the first time. I think I know what you're going to say. But what is it? You talked about growing up in Over the Rhine, and it was hard, right? And your path to where you are now and being an advocate for teachers, African-American teachers, right? What is it that has caused you to be a success? And you are a success.
Thank you. I think it's just that perseverance. Because honestly, I can literally think I had a couple friends who started semesters here at Cincinnati State, but never finished. Like, out of all my friends that I grew up with downtown, they know I still love them all. But I think I'm the only one that went and finished college. And that's something that nobody could ever take away. Like, you actually did it and stuck with it. I don't know. It's just a feeling that nobody could take away. Being able to walk across that stage after all those years, I felt like I was proving to myself that I could do this, that I was bigger than my circumstances. Because once I got to Cincinnati State and started making a couple friends here, it was like a whole nother world. Like, and to be honest, I never really traveled out of Cincinnati, but I plan to during this next chapter of my life. It's about me. But just being used to seeing the same people, same environment, same thoughts and ideas, but it wasn't really like anything progressive. Like, it was more so just, this is the hood, it's where you're gonna be, this is where you're gonna die. And I knew that wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't wanna just be,
it's not my story.
Yeah, it's not my story.
Yeah. Wow. Keonte, thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and not just teaching, but really being creative about getting more teachers involved. I know that you're really still connected to UC, and you do a lot of work to encourage other people to consider education as a pathway, as a career path, and you're plastered all over UC's website.
Yes,
and
they really. It's funny.
That's right.
It took a whole extra year for them to. And I'm not like blaming UC or anything like that, because at the end of the day, I graduated, got my degree. They gave me an opportunity to showcase that I belong there. So, but it took that extra year for me to really like realize that UC actually cares. You just have to find your village once you get there. That school is huge. If you're not used to like big city schools, and even though Cincinnati is relatively small, but UC, I want to say our incoming class was like 30 to 40,000, and that's just all across UC campuses. So just hearing that number and then just seeing huge crowds of people, it was a culture shock. So once I found my footing, I just took off running, and I've been featured for UC, I want to say off the top of my head, like maybe 2 or 3 times since I've graduated. So they've been always reached back out just to try to get me to come back to campus and do something. So I'm wherever. Like, I'm forever indebted to C-State and UC.
Oh, thank you. Well, we will keep reaching back out.
Yes.
I will keep sending students your way. I will keep pushing the Boys and Girls Club.
We need more
education.
We need more.
Sure.
It's plenty of space, plenty of opportunity, plenty of kids who want to latch on to you and your story and where you come from, because they might find some similarity in their story and be able to and just latch on to you.
Well, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Good luck. You're rounding third and headed for home.
Yes, can't wait to get home
weeks.
every day.
And thank you, listeners, for listening today. Don't forget to like our podcast on social media and subscribe. Catch our new episodes of FutureProof every 2 weeks and find out what happens when we stop saying no and start saying yes.
The FutureProof podcast is brought to you from Studio 459, up on the hill at Cincinnati State's main campus in Clifton. If you like what you heard here, please hit the subscribe button. If you're an employer or a potential student interested in the programs Cincinnati State has to offer, please visit cincinnatistate.edu.